Hey guys, and welcome back to Sloan's Garage. Today, I'm going to pop open the rear end of the Firebird and look at the carnage, see what happened. In the last video, amongst other things, I installed a mini spool, so it would be posy. And at the end of the video, you may have noticed that it spun one tire. And so we'll see what broke, and I'll show you guys. And if you guys didn't see the end of the last video, I'll put the clip in right here.
Get her!
Okay, now I got it apart, and it pushed one of the shims out on the passenger side, and I'll click a photo in right here. It out, like smushed it, so basically once it was under all that load, it shoved the passenger side axle out, which pushed that shim out and made it where the blocks could kick sideways, and that's why it burned out one tire. But here is one of the blocks. I don't know if you guys can see that. Here's the diff cover. You can see the magnets just covered in shavings. And over here have what's left of the mini spool. It's actually pretty well intact. You can see the edges are all fucked up on that one. And this was the passenger side one, and it's actually not too bad. I mean, it rounded these a little bit, and like it was, the blocks were basically riding on this, letting it pass, because the shim got pushed out on this side. And blocks are, the edges are kind of rounded, kind of fucked up a little bit. That's probably the worst of it right there. Not too bad. The C-clips didn't want to come out. I had to fight them, but they bowed a little bit. I don't know if that's catching it on camera, but also, like, these normally are smooth, and it's got a bunch of divots in it. Maybe this one's bent a little bit more so you can tell. So I had to like use a pry bar to try to straighten these enough to grab them out with pliers. Normally C-clips just drop out, but not in this case. So, and this was the shim that was on the driver's side. It like crushed and got formed to the back of that side of the mini spool. But all in all, it wasn't too bad. No actual damage happened to the gears in the rear end. They're all good. It's not even been like touched or anything. I'm sure having metal shavings in the oil probably wasn't the best thing for it, but it'll survive. So now I just have to decide, am I going to, buff the mini spool back up, put more shims in, and, try it again, put the spider gears in here just so it's drivable, or put that other rear end in. So on this other rear end I got, it's an 8.8 Ford, which is a shitload stronger than the little 7.5 that's in that car. And supposedly it has 410s and a posi, which I want. I haven't opened it up yet to see, but I only paid $100 for it, so I didn't got shit in it, money-wise. But to get it going, I'm going to need to get brake lines. I'm going to need to figure out either get another yoke for it, or like get a flange that'll fit it, because it's got a flat flange. Do a bunch of measuring to get it in there perfectly centered. And then you also have to take into factor your pinion angle, which needs to be probably within a couple degrees of the front drive shaft or U-joint angle, and they got to be opposite of each other. Otherwise, you're probably going to be going through U-joints like crazy. And I don't know if I mentioned, it doesn't have brake lines, so I'd have to get that too. But other than that, you know, I'm not the best welder fabricator, so I've been kind of putting it off, and I'm probably just going to try to throw the mini spool back in that and put it off some more, because in 2 weeks, more or less, is going to be the first test and tune at the Woodburn track. It's my local track here, and I'm wanting to get the car there and make a couple passes and see what it does. Hopefully it goes good. Hopefully I don't break anything. So now I'm going to start just buffering the mini spool, and I'm just going to make more shims and put it back together, because like I mentioned, the drag strip is opening back up in a couple weeks, and I want to have the car ready, and I have other things on top of fixing this that I have to do, so I'm just going to put way more shims in it and tighten it up as much as I can until I can barely get the C-clip in and call it good. So this shim was actually on one of the spider gears that I took out, so I'm going to use it as my template. Last time I just used the mini spool itself and like traced it out, and then tried to center it as good as I could, and then traced out that. And when I did that, the shims were actually a little too big to fit in the differential. But with these, if I copy that shim, it is slightly smaller than the mini spool itself, and so I'm just going to trace it out on this. This is like galvanized shingles or something that I picked up for nothing, but I'll trace a bunch of them out, and I'll just cut them out with my 10 snips here, and hopefully I can get it tightened up good enough where it won't blow apart again. But if it does, it's not a big deal to me. I don't have anything invested in this rear end, so I don't care if I break it. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I got these shims made up, and they're a little bit smaller than the previous ones, because I traced them out of this one like I told you guys I was going to. So it looks like 3 on each side is gonna get it tight enough where the blocks kind of barely slide in, and it looks like I should still be able to get the C-clips in. So now I'm going to try to address these fucked up blocks and the outsides, and also straighten the C-clips, and might do something about that too, take the grinder to it. So how I'm gonna fix this stuff is just with the old grinder, and it has a soft, like I call it a feather wheel, but a soft pad on it, so it's not going to take much material off. And I'm just going to straighten up these edges to make them square again, and on these two try to square them up because they're a little rounded, and then I'll put it in and hopefully it'll go great. And the weather's starting to get crappy, as you can see. The skies are starting to get dark, so I need to get to it and get done and finish this thing. Alright, I got all these edges cleaned up now with the grinder, and the blocks are all pretty much more or less square now, and they actually go together now. One of these sides was all messed up where the blocks wouldn't even go in it, so I had to grind that flat. And the C-clips, I just used the old BFH, the big friendly hammer, and smacked them against the concrete till they were flat. And then they still didn't want to go on the axle, so then I took the grinder on these two edges and did a little bit of grinding, very little, until they would just kind of slide onto the axle like they're supposed to. And now I'm gonna put it back together and show you guys when it's done. Alright guys, I got it back together. So I got 6 shims stuffed in on this side, and I got 4 that I could fit on this side. And it has a little bit of like slop, probably just because I had to grind that flat, but I can't push these outers out so they don't move. So I'm pretty sure it's as solid as the stupid thing's gonna be. So now I'm gonna spray it out with brake clean, try to get out whatever like metal that's still left in here, and silicone the diff cover, put it back on, let it set up overnight, and then fill it up with oil and it should be good to go. So yeah, end off the video here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, just tell me maybe other things you guys might want to see, within reason, of course. And I'll get back to you. Thank you.